Hello, buddy, Crow here, and decided to take a little bit of a break from the pinball videos here and put up a video. I've been seeing a lot of videos recently about really consoles versus PC. Why I prefer consoles over PC, or why I prefer PC over consoles. Actually, when I say a lot, it's been 3 videos. Maybe a little bit more if you look at multiple videos by the same person. But really, I think this has all started off with, well, 2 people, really. I know Lawn Boys Post 1975 put up a video why he preferred consoles over PC, and it was like a revisited video, because I guess you get a lot of questions, people asking, why don't you play on PC rather than consoles? And then Dean from Escape from the Gaming, he would frequently talk about how he prefers consoles over PC, and it just regularly during his videos he would say, I prefer playing on consoles, and but he also put up a video in response to Lombo's post specifically talking about that. And then lastly, Lactobacillus Prime, Mark had put up a video. That was a long video. I listened to it in my car when I was driving home from work. It was a 40-minute video, and you know what? A common consensus is really, go with what you're comfortable with, I think. If you prefer consoles over PC, that's fine. There's no problem with it. This video is really over my take on it, because I seem to jump back and forth every so often. Really, I do both. I've always done both, and I still currently do both. But I still have like a whole pickup, summer's full of pickups to video to go through, and they're all PS4 games. But that being said, I've bought more games on Steam, like a hell of a lot of games on Steam. And to me, I guess PC gaming is what I am primarily going on right now. But, I thought I'd just, a lot of these videos have been going over their history. This is, way back when, 90s, whatever. I tried to do PC gaming and it didn't work out for me. The cost, all this other stuff. And I just wanted to put my take on it. Now, again, I'm driving in my car, heading to work right now. I don't know if the sound quality of this video is no good or anything. I'll probably remake this video, but I'm driving to work anyway. I'm driving through all the construction, and that road is closed through traffic, because I guess they finally got people driving through this neighborhood like I'm doing right now to avoid construction. Anyway, it's not the way I normally go, but I know a lot of people. Anyway, the video isn't about road construction. Let's go back to way back when I was a little kid. We're talking about early 80s. I would primarily play I guess, the Atari 2600. That was the game system we had. When we say we had really, PCs didn't really come into prevalence until about the early 90s. But if you want a comparison, we did have a Commodore 64 as well. I guess that could be the 80s version of the PC, I guess. I don't know. But even back then, there were people who were like, oh, yeah, Commodore 64 is better. I mean, there were other computers too, especially in Europe. But for me, it was really about the Commodore 64 and the Atari, it was first 2600, then we got a Commodore 64. But that didn't really stop me from playing the Atari 2600. I mean, it was 2 completely different experiences. So, of course, I was going to jump back and forth. It's just that, of course, to play an Atari 2600 game was a hell of a lot easier than playing a Commodore 64 game. When I say easier, I mean, all you had to do was plug a cartridge in, and bam, you were playing that game. Whereas in a Commodore 64, you had to, normally, we had it all hooked up or whatever, had its own monitor, television and whatnot, but you still had to insert in the disc. You had to know the commands to start the game, and then you had to wait for the game to load, and then you finally got into the game. And granted, Commodore 64 games were a lot better than Atari 2600 games, but sometimes you just wanted to, play a game, no fuss, no muss. So yeah, you have your advantages and disadvantages. Commodore 64, you could save your games, whatever. You couldn't do anything like the really complicated Atari 2600. But then later on, we got an NES. So to me, that blew away the Commodore 64. I know there's arguments saying no way, the Commodore 64 is way. Even way back then, I remember magazines saying, "Oh, here's why Commodore 64 is better than an NES." But to me, NES, I really wanted an NES, and I was extremely happy when we finally got one. Go, go, go. It's your turn to go. Now it's my turn. So yeah, and so I would primarily play that. It was kind of like, okay, you got the NES, and now didn't need the Commodore 64 anymore. Nowadays, I realize that, oh yeah, the Commodore 64 had a lot of great stuff on it, and I still like going back and playing that stuff. I was really happy to get a Commodore 64 back in my collection, along with almost all the games that I used to have way back in the day. And yeah, but still there's advantages and disadvantages to both. So I had an NES, and basically at this point I kind of became primarily a console gamer. Because you had the NES, you had the Super Nintendo. I remember in high school, me and my friend swapped. He had a Genesis, I had a Super Nintendo. We swapped systems for the summer. So I got to try that out. And it really didn't change at all for a long time. Because even in the early 90s, I got my first PC, my first real PC. It was we had a 286, I think. I don't remember. We had a 286, and it was very limited. I mean, I guess my uncle had one, and my dad had one, like a PC. And the first game that actually we had these games on a PC I would play. But it wasn't until my uncle got the ad lib card that these computer games started to kind of outshine the console games. So playing, I remember playing Lemmings with an ad lib. Every time I go to my uncle's house, I had to play Lemmings on his computer. Because the music was great. It was a great puzzle game. And, this was, actually before we got the Super Nintendo. Because I remember we got the Super Nintendo. That kind of started to outshine the PCs again. And one of the first games we got for the Super Nintendo was Lemmings. And it had the double player mode too, where two people could play at the same time. And it had Super Mario World and stuff like that. To me, nothing on the PC could compare to that. But I guess, what I'm trying to say is that I would always still want to play the PC game, even though I had a console. But I would primarily want to play on the consoles. And then everything changed kind of after I went into, even when I was in high school, I managed to convince my parents at the time. I say at the time, I have different parents now, but to get me for school another PC, a 486. And I had some games on that I remember playing, and that's kind of when I kind of became primarily a PC gamer again, because I would always be buying games on PC, 486. With the CD-ROM, oh wow, nothing like that would come out on for consoles for quite some time, at least for me, because I know the TurboGrafx 16 CD and the Sega CD, but I didn't have any of that. I had the 486, so I would, all these new video and everything games. I remember playing Star Wars Rebel Assault. I remember this is way back, these DOS games. I used to manually configure my auto exec and config sys files to if I wanted to play, I wanted to boot to Windows, I had a specific configuration for that. If I wanted to and we're talking about Windows 3.1, and if I had to if I wanted to boot into a specific game, I had an option for that, and it would run a specific set of conditions. I had a Sound Blaster, and I had a ball with that. And that to me was my system of choice at the time, PC gaming. But I can totally understand why people wouldn't want to do that, because it's a lot of work. Rather than, just getting your Super Nintendo, plugging a cartridge in and playing the game, you had to be sure you had to make sure the game would run on your system. You had to make sure you knew how to set up the system to run the game, and there was a whole bunch of other issues that could happen. But if you knew how to do all that stuff, it was great. And this is where I could see, a lot of people saying, yeah, and also PCs back then, it cost a lot of money. But here's the thing: is like it was a multifunctional tool. A lot of people that say, I don't game today. That say I don't game on PC because it's too expensive, and they're making videos on a PC. And it's like you may not be able to play the bestest games ever, but there's still games out there that you can play, and I'll probably get to that a little bit later. But again, after high school, I went into the Air Force. So for a while, when I was in boot camp and technical school, I kind of went back to console gaming because it was easier to have in my room. But then I remember after I got out of technical school, one of the first things I bought was a K5, which was like a Pentium. It was an AMD Pentium equivalent. And at that time, I had a PlayStation. I bought a PlayStation while I was in boot camp. Technical school. It was like a couple months old. Spent $300 for PlayStation, and I really liked it. That to me, again, blew away what was on the PC. But then you had the Voodoo 2 cards and everything. So you really, at the time, I was kind of jumping back and forth between both. I was neither solely a PC gamer or a console gamer. The PlayStation had its games that I really liked to play, and the PC had its games I really liked to play, especially since a lot of the people in my building played at PCs. So we had our own LAN system. Nobody really does LANs anymore. So we had our own LAN, Cat 5 cable, whatever, running from dorm room to dorm room, whatever. And it was almost like today, where you could jump on and somebody's always playing something. So I played a lot of Quake 2 back in the day. I remember playing Need for Speed 3 and stuff against people. I even bought my own steering wheel, force feedback steering wheel, Logitech. I still have that thing, and I don't want to ever give it up. But even though it's totally useless now because it uses a game port, but it was awesome. When did things change? I got out of the Air Force and I went to college. And even in college, it was the same thing. I used to go to LAN parties, and when were they? Were every month or so. So every weekend, one weekend every month, we'd all get together, find an area, and have ourselves a giant LAN party. But I would also have the PlayStation 2, and everything. Now, where things started changing for me is PlayStation 3. Now, I didn't get a PlayStation 3 right away, or Xbox 360 right away. Those were things we eventually got. And, I like those systems. And that's kind of where I stopped playing PC games and was solely going back to console games. It was I think it was I at one point had downloaded Steam and tried to play a game. I bought a game and I tried to play it on this computer I had, and it just would not run properly. And it was a really simple game. It was Audio Surf, and I could not get it to. And I was like, okay, I'm giving up on PC gaming. I'm just going for PS3, Xbox 360, and I only played console games for a long time. We're talking about from 2006 until maybe even last year. I would not think about anything other than console games. But here's what changed for me. What I liked about console gaming, the thing I liked the most about console gaming was you would go to the store, you'd buy your game, and you'd have your game. You could pop it in, you'd play it. Everybody would have the same experience. And but what changed about it was the internet. I think the internet ruined console gaming, because all of a sudden now, slowly over time, you would buy a game and it wasn't it. It had first they started out with the DLC. Oh, pay extra money and pay extra money and you'll get more of the game. You have to download it. and you won't be able to trade or sell or do anything with this digital content. Now, I'm not saying, of course, there's digital content on PC, but at this point, PCs had almost completely moved over to that point. In fact, when I bought Duke Nukem Forever, even though it was a box that had a disc in it, all the disc really wanted to do was connect to Steam. It had to install through Steam. So, what was the point? So that's, Duke Nukem Forever was the last kind of physical game I ever bought for PC, because at that point I realized, well, that for PC it doesn't matter, because you buy the game physically and it's going to download anyway. So at least there's console gaming. But console gaming moved that way. Right now we're at the point to where there's almost no games that you can buy that don't require updates. Now, over the whole summer, I have bought a whole bunch of games that don't require any updates, but I'll wait for, it was limited run games. These are games that have already been out digitally, and they just print them to disc. They're not going to be updated anymore, so you can pop the disc in and it won't update, you can play them. Or remasters even, because if a remastered game is just a kind of a remake of a game that's already been complete, and those don't really require many updates either. But it gets ridiculous when you pop in a game and everything on the disc is completely worthless. So if you didn't have your I can't remember what game it was, but I think it might have been one of the driver games for PlayStation 3. If you were to pop the disc in without connection to the internet, you only got to play the demo of the game, because they didn't bother to print the full game on the disc. They just wanted to hurry up and get it in stores. So when you pop the disc in, you have to download the whole game anyway. That's what things are moving towards. And I guess what kind of set me off was with the PlayStation 4. I was like, okay, PlayStation 4 I bought, it had 500 gig hard drive. I'm not going to download digital games for the PlayStation 4. I just want to buy physical games. Unfortunately, every physical game I bought would, installing is one thing, but it seemed like every game I was buying, as soon as you pop in the disc, required many, many, many gigs of downloads. I ran out of space on a 500 gig hard drive without ever actually buying digital content. And then I bought a 2 terabyte hard drive, and then I thought to myself, this is ridiculous. Why don't I just go back to gaming on PCs if I have to deal with upgrading hardware on a console? Not only that, but I don't really trust the digital management of what Sony's doing with digital content and Xbox 360. They can kind of flip the switch and determine whether or not you can even download or play games anymore. Look at PT. Just kind of flip the switch. Nope, you can't download this no more. Not saying that this kind of thing doesn't have it on PC, because it certainly does. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna start. I kind of going into Steam more. I had Steam for a long time, but I really wasn't doing a whole lot with it. In fact, I had, I think when I bought my laptop like 6 or 7 years ago, I downloaded Steam because you got Portal for free, and I played Portal on that laptop, and I loved it. And I had some other games, but really didn't buy anything on Steam. But I kind of decided to jump onto Steam again during the winter sale. And holy shit, did I buy a whole lot of games. Can I make this light? Yeah, I'm gonna make this light. Phew, made it. And I'm looking, and I'm noticing that a lot of the games that I had gotten through PS Plus for free are on Steam. And not only are they on Steam, but they're extremely cheap. We're talking like they were on sale for like $1. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Canceled PS Plus, because that's a waste of money every year now. Because and not only that, but I bought a game recently. I bought King of the Fighters 14 recently, and it's like, oh, you can't play online because you don't have PS Plus. Oh, come on, okay, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm gonna pass you up this way. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, these consoles, I'm I'll get into that later, but yeah, I figured that, you know what, if I'm just going to be if they want me to be pushed towards digital content, it seems like everything's pushing towards digital content. There was a point in PS3 lifespan where there were games that were getting physical releases in other regions, but in the US, they were only digital downloads. And they were $60. They were the same price. It was like ridiculous. I can't buy a physical copy, because with a physical copy, I could, you know, turn around, sell it, whatever, do whatever I want with it. But with a digital copy, why would I spend $60 for kind of paying for nothing? And then I'm stuck with it on that system, and I can't do anything with it when I'm done with the game. So I just don't understand why. I'll never pay $60. Well, that's a lie. I have paid $60 for digital content, but there's a reason for that. But for a game like that I know is gonna, like, the physical copy will drop in price, physical copies drop in price. Digital copies don't, not unless there's some sort of flash sale. So to me, I'm back to PC gaming solely because of the digital aspect. They're really pushing digital content these days on consoles, and I just don't want to do digital content on consoles. It has nothing to do with, the gaming experience on PC is better or anything like that, because that really varies from system to system. Yes, you could, one of the complaints I'm hearing is that, it costs a lot more to be a PC gamer. Every year your PC's out of date. You're going to have to upgrade your computer every year. And that's only true, really, if you want to play all the newest games all the time, like in the best super quality. For me, though, my main PC that I'm using now, I think I built it's like in its current state. I haven't updated it in maybe 4 years. The only thing I really did recently was upgrade the power supply, and that is because for whatever reason 2 years ago my power supply died. But again, if you're not into like PCs, building PCs, and I kind of learned how to build PCs when I was in the Air Force, because like I said, I was in a dorm with all these people that had PCs, and I kind of just learned how to build PCs from them. But if you've never had that experience, of course you're not going to want to game on PC, because you know that something might go wrong, and you might not be able to fix it, and the chances of that happening on a console are far less likely. And that's kind of one of the reasons I like gaming on consoles. It's like, you turn it on, there's updates there would be updates and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's still very simple compared to PCs. But I will say that with digital content, I'd rather just deal with it on PCs, because I feel like I have more control over it. I feel like there's less control over it. Like I was saying in one of the other comments, I was really getting annoyed with PS4 because you have the sharing feature, but they can still determine what you can and cannot share. I have it set up so, like, every time I get a trophy, it takes a screenshot. But I have the trophy notification turned off. But what winds up happening is it tries to take a screenshot in some spots, but the game won't let it. And so I get a big giant message on the screen in the middle of the game saying, you're not allowed to take a screenshot during, this game, part of the game or something like that. Like, get off the screen, I don't care. So that's kind of that was kind of getting really annoying. But ultimately, for me, it's digital content. If they want these consoles to be just digital machines, screw it. I can do that with a PC. And I will say that gaming on a PC is a lot easier than it was 10 years ago. I could use an Xbox 360 controller or a PlayStation 4 controller, or spoof a PlayStation 4 controller to look like an Xbox 360 controller. And I've always preferred first-person shooters with a mouse and a keyboard. So to me, I'm back to PC gaming. Well, like, I haven't totally ditched console gaming yet. There's limited run games coming out with these great games. I have bought Odin Sphere, which I really greatly enjoyed, and I've played, and I bought recently King of the Fighters 14, because I still prefer fighting games on consoles, although that may change in the near future, because I have bought a couple fighting games on Steam, and they were dirt cheap, and now they play just as good. So yeah, but yeah, like I say, with the price of PCs, you can get a cheaper PC. You may not be able to play all the latest and greatest games, but there's still a ton of games on Steam to play. Like my laptop I have at work, I bought that thing like 6 or 7 years ago. It's a dual-core processor. It's only got a GeForce like 130M in it, but it can still play a lot of games. Again, another thing I heard was some people having problems playing older games, and I just haven't had that issue yet. I know Lactobacillus Prime brought this up. Is like, yeah, if now there's not a way to play the game, there probably will be in the future. Not only that, if I upgrade my computer, this is another thing that really kind of got to me. If I upgrade my computer, I know that all the digital games that I bought will carry over to my new PC, because it's basically the same account. But with, like, when I upgrade a PS3 to PS4, none of those digital games carried over. Almost none of them. I think a couple of them did. But now I'm stuck with a lot of digital games on the PlayStation 3 that I can no longer play unless I boot up the PlayStation 3. So that, and I know the architecture is completely different on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, and possibly in the, like with the PlayStation 4 Pro coming out, I know all the games will play on that. But that's another thing, is now it's only been 3 years, and now that they're coming out with a new version of the PlayStation. They're not calling it a PlayStation 4, but it's the PlayStation Pro, but it's really an upgraded version. I don't know. To me, it's like having the expansion port in Nintendo 64, or like maybe the Genesis 32X thing, where it's like an add-on almost. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If if I'm going to be posting this video or whatnot. I usually seem to make these videos and then not do anything with them. So this may be the case. Long story short, PC gaming, yes, it can be more expensive up front, but you don't need to upgrade a computer every year. The laptop I bought earlier this year, I want that to last a couple of years, at least 3, 4, 5 years without having to update it. It's got a 980 GT in it. That should last quite some time, I think, at least, especially with the type of games I'm playing. I don't buy anything on Steam unless it's on sale, and I don't think I've paid more than $10 or $15 for anything, with some exceptions. Zaccaria Pinball is a big exception. Pinball Arcade is a big exception. But other games that I'm just buying kind of on a whim to play, I'll wait for a sale. And there's tons of games on Steam I haven't played yet, that I bought even. But yeah, the games are a lot cheaper. You're running up spending a lot more for games in the long run, I think, than you are on consoles. Even though the consoles may be cheaper up front. But then you've got to buy, if you want to play online, you've got to play that pass. The PlayStation Pass or the Xbox Pass is like another $60 a year. Oh, but they give you free games too. Yeah, but if you cancel that free pass, or not, if you cancel that $60 a month year pass, then you don't get those games anymore. And all those games are on PC anyway, pretty much, and they're very, very cheap. So yeah, plus it's, when I talk about simplicity, I can play on a PC just like I can on the console. I have my laptop, plugged it in HDMI to my TV. I have my PlayStation 4 controller plugged in wirelessly. Turn on the PC, solid state hard drive, boots up almost. It actually boots up faster than the PlayStation 4 from not from standby, but from cold boot. And Steam opens up, and I pick my game and I play it. And I've got a lot of choices, whether it be game-wise or maybe changing some aspects of the game. So